Hello, I'm John Stifer, representative of the Shaw Media Editorial Board. Today is Thursday, September 10th, and we're pleased to begin a joint interview with candidates for the McHenry County offices of Coroner and County Chairperson in the November 2020 election. I'm joined by reporter Kelly Duncan and Daily Herald Editorial Board member Jim Slusher. We welcome the candidates, County Board Chairman Challenger Mike Buehler, and Coroner candidates Michael Rein and Kelly Liebman. Mr. Buehler, we'll begin the questioning with you. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the platform that you're running on.
Okay, Mike Buehler. Like you said, I'm the Republican candidate for McHenry County Board Chairman. I'm not a politician. I've never run for elected office before. However, I am a small business person of over 25 years, 30 years in my chosen industry. I run a company with my brother. We basically sell and install industrial scales, mostly to the infrastructure industry, primarily large capacity truck scales for asphalt plants, concrete plants, and quarries in the area. We've been involved in almost all the major infrastructure projects in the Chicagoland area over the last 30 years, and you've probably seen most of them, including Millennium Park, Soldier Field reconstructions, and the lakefront reconstruction over the years. My platform, I guess, I think it's pretty clear, myself included, that voters want new leadership with a clear vision to restore our county and say no more to cutthroat politics. I myself have, over the years, have been appalled at the high taxes and corruption in this state, and I think that we can't rely anymore on the corrupt to police themselves. We need to replace them at the polls.
All right, and Michael Rein?
Yeah. What was the question? I mean,
just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the platform you're running on.
Okay. My name is Dr. Michael Rein. I'm actually running for county coroner. A little bit about me is that I was born and raised here in Woodstock, McHenry County. Been here all of my life except for 4 years. I was a 4-year U.S. Marine Corps veteran. After that, I came home. I did the family construction business for about 8 years. Worked my way up in the family construction business, and I had became a VP before I decided that I wanted to go back to school and do something else, and started off at MCC, got an associate's degree in science there, and wanted to pursue the medical field even more. So after that, I went to National College of Chiropractic, and I received my bachelor's degree in human biology, and then also received my doctorate degree there. Passed 4 national boards to be licensed in the state of Illinois. Chiropractors are actually under the Medical Practice Act in Illinois, where MDs and DOs, so we are under the same stringent laws that they go by as well. I've been on the county, I was on the county board for 4 years. Did some good things as far as saving money, redoing the healthcare plan up there, which has saved millions of dollars for the taxpayers. And actually, when they did the remodel job, I was one of the instrumental people in helping keep those costs down, but also keep everything functional as well. Locally, I am involved in the Woodstock Chamber of Commerce. I've also been a past alumni president for the McHenry County College Alumni Association. And I have over 6,000 hours of formal training over my last, since schooling and continuing education. So I also have 2 certificates dealing with forensics and things, so that I actually went and did on my own. Once I decided that I was going to run for coroner, I thought it was a good thing that I do those preemptively. And, you know, if I am coroner, the taxpayers don't have to pay to have that, you know, I have the medical background to do this job, and I look forward to serving the taxpayers.
All right, and Kelly Liebman, you're on audio here. We don't see you, but you'll be answering the question next. And you're a Libertarian candidate for coroner. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us and interviewing us today. We appreciate it as candidates. My name is Kelly Liebman. I'm 43 years old and I've lived in Wonder Lake since 2004. Prior to that, I lived in Harvard for 2 years. And I'm actually a Wisconsinite from birth. I'm running for coroner because I want to help those mourning the death of their loved ones. They need hope and support during tragic times. Residents also need to be assured the coroner's office and death investigations remain independent. The coroner should prioritize the needs of residents, not politicians and bureaucrats. With the escalation of the use of force by law enforcement agencies across the country, now more than ever, we need to safeguard that death investigations are autonomous. As a Libertarian, my office will be unconstrained from political pressures from current Republican elected officials. My education in police science, including criminal and civil law, and training as a 911 dispatcher provide me with unique experience beneficial to the office of coroner. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll go back to Mike Buehler for this question that is specific to the chairman race. How would you work to ensure that board members and the chairman work together in the best fashion possible? And what's that look like?
I think I would bring a fresh perspective to utilizing my decades of experience in small business, teamwork, collaboration, and mutual respect with the board in order to find the best solutions to any given problem. I've found that over the years the importance of helping those around me perform to their highest levels by giving them a level of autonomy and utilizing their individual areas of expertise to the greatest benefit.
And in terms of working directly with the board, like putting together agendas, putting together a budget, how would that function for you?
Well, according to county board rules, the committees generally will set the agenda. If something is approved through committee, it should come to the agenda. I don't believe that it's the chairman's job to keep anything off of the agenda that the committees might put forth for a vote. That would be more of an executive position, and the county board chairman in McHenry is actually a parliamentary position. I think that my opponent over the years misunderstands what the role is as chairman. There was a referendum on the ballot a few years back, and the voters overwhelmingly rejected an executive style of government here in McHenry County. So most of the initiatives should definitely be coming through the committees.
All right, and we'll go to Kelly Liebman now. Speaking of referendums, there is a referendum on the ballot related to the coroner's office to eliminate and have it be an appointed position. What are your thoughts on that, and what's the benefit of either way?
I believe that the coroner should remain elected. Chairman Franks compared the abolition of the elected coroner's office and converting it to an appointed coroner's office as the same as the merging of the recorder. I'm sorry, did I say anyway, as opposed to merging the coroner, he compared the merging of an elected coroner to an appointed coroner as the same as the recorder's office merging with the clerk's office. That is not correct, and it's misleading. The coroner's office would be abolished and voters would never have a choice again, and it would be elected by bureaucrats. I'm running because the coroner's office needs to be autonomous from administration, from other politicians like Republicans that are currently the state's attorney and the sheriff. And I believe that the voters truly can choose the best coroner for the job.
So when you're saying separate from the sheriff, you mean different than how it operates right now?
What? No, independently. I mean, they work together, but if you have conflict of interest with the sheriff and a case, and maybe an officer getting in trouble, or being in a car accident on duty, or even off duty, you have to have that autonomy and not be pressured to rule a death one way for political purposes.
But the current coroner is a member of the sheriff's department. So is it a problem right now?
The coroner's office is not a member of the sheriff's department. Coroner's office is actually works in conjunction with the sheriff's office.
So a deputy of the sheriff's office is not in charge of the coroner's office right now?
For sure, right now they are.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Is it a problem right now?
I'm sorry, then I misunderstood the question. I apologize.
Okay. Is it a problem how it's operating right now?
I don't. If a case were to come up, I think it would be a problem.
Okay.
Where you have a deputy or somebody, related to the sheriff's office. It would be a problem now. Yes, I do believe.
Okay. And Michael Rein, the same question to you with the referendum. What are your thoughts on that? And what's the benefit of having it be an elected position as opposed to being an appointed medical examiner?
Well, I think that it should be still an elected position. Ultimately, the voters are going to decide on, they're voting to get rid of the vote, their own vote, to hand it over to a politician, to appoint it. Now, I don't think that I think the people are the ones that need to decide who they believe is the best person to have that elected person in office. So I think that what we need to do, can you hold on for 1 sec? Sorry about that. So I'm in my office. So anyways, so I think that to keep death investigations separate from any outside corruption is why the people should be electing the coroner. If it is appointed, the appointed coroner is held over by either the county board chairman, county administrator, county board, any one of those people. And if you have an interesting, we have a case where a county board member actually was involved with a possible death with the AJ Friend case, that could absolutely have conflicts of interest with that. And I think that when you're having those conflicts of possibilities, an appointed coroner is basically when somebody puts pressure on you, they're holding a job over their heads. You do what I tell you to do or you're going to lose your job. That's what happens. And just for instance, Bureau County down, they actually had an elected coroner, went to appointed coroner, and then went back to an elected coroner because they saw the value of what that is. And I think that the voters can choose who they need to be as far as the elected coroner. Now, I think you talked about as far as, with the sheriff filling in right now, the sheriff is actually filling in. If under the, ordinance, the McHenry County ordinances, the chairman was supposed to bring somebody forward within 60 days, and he failed to do that. So that, to me, the chairman has actually been negligent as far as not putting and filling that position and putting the extra burden and the extra stress on the sheriff's office. That should have never happened. So.
Is there an issue with how it works in Cook County? Are you familiar with that?
I am. Yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Cook County has a medical examiner's office per se. They don't have an appointed coroner. Now, Cook County, they see thousands and thousands and thousands more deaths than McHenry County. McHenry County does about, I believe, on the average of about 175 autopsies per year. Now, most big cities that I know of have a medical examiner in charge because the medical examiner's office is set up differently than a coroner's position. So if McHenry County was to go to a medical examiner's office, the liability now would fall much harder and much greater within the county to do that. Plus, there's only 500 medical examiners across the whole United States. So filling that position becomes a much more daunting task, and you're going to end up paying much more for that. You have counties such as Kane County, they have 700,000 people in there. They have an elected coroner. Lake County, they have an elected coroner. So DuPage County, they have an elected coroner, which is filled by a medical doctor as well. So I think that, the smaller counties and things like that, I think it works fine and it works well. Obviously that if there's a investigation that needs an autopsy, those are subcontracted out. So, and I think that when the Illinois Coroners Association came up and spoke in December about the referendum, and I think they laid it out very clearly. What their belief is that it should be an elected position.
All right, and Kelly Liebman, do you have any thoughts on that? Comparing this to how a place like Cook County operates.
Well, I know Cook County's medical examiner's office, the medical examiners are paid over $200,000 a year. The budget for the whole coroner's office in 2020 from the general fund is $476,000. So I know if for some reason they decided to go with the medical examiner's office, I don't think that's going to happen. It would severely increase costs. I also wanted to point out that this referendum's on the ballot because a politician said that the coroner's office is broken. He says there's a damning report from the sheriff's office, but he refuses to substantiate the claims that the coroner's office is broken. I don't think the coroner's office is broken. I do believe it has been purposely neglected for political reasons.
All right, and
sorry, go ahead.
Just to follow up on that report, the report was related to the previous coroner, right? And you're saying it was neglected after Ann Majewski left or before that? Before.
Dr. Majewski tried to get things on the agenda for the coroner's office in committee. The chairman refused to put those on the agenda. How can a coroner's office get things done, make improvements, invest in technology when she can't get things on the agenda to get approved?
What specific things were not approved or put on an agenda?
I don't want to say specific things, but you can't make purchases of $20,000 or more without approval. And Dr. Majewski should not have had to speak during public comment in order to be heard.
All right, and Michael Rein, your thoughts on that report, the validity of that report, and kind of the reasons why the coroner's office was in that state when Dr. Majewski left.
Which report are you talking about? There were several.
The report from the Algonquin doctor that came in, that
The sleep study doctor that did
Yeah.
so when Dr. Keller did his report, that was actually after Sheriff Prim actually did a thorough report to begin with. Sheriff Prim, when he took over the office, he went and did a thorough analysis of what some things were good, were bad, things in that nature. But I didn't think there was any glaring things. However, the chairman decided that he wanted a different report, and the different report from Dr. Keller basically stated that in his quote, that, I guess I'm going to paraphrase, but it was basically the people are, don't understand, or the people are stupid, and basically referring to the taxpayers and the citizens of this county, which I think was right there is not an independent study. That's a political study now. And Dr. Keller's study, I mean, he was a sleep study doctor, has never been inside of a coroner's office. He never has seen the inside of a coroner's office. Tissue samples and other samples that are taken are stored differently than when they are in a hospital. So to make those comparisons were totally unfounded, number one. I think that I also have stated that the Illinois Coroners Association actually would have come up for free and done an analysis of the coroner's office. That's what they do. The only thing that they needed was a phone call, and they would have done it for free. And they're the ones that are the experts. I believe at the time, Rob Russell was the president of the association, and that's what the Illinois Coroners Association of Medical Examiners does. They help other coroners, or the medical examiner's office, whether it be in Chicago or the other 101 counties. They're there to help, and they never received that phone call. So Chairman Franks made it totally political. That's all it was. There's been no substantial evidence of the coroner's office being broken. So that's what
Could I speak to this for a moment?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you specifically.
Yeah, because this doesn't involve the chairman's position, and what I think was, this is a perfect example of why you don't want an elected official to have so much power that they would also hand pick a person to come in and examine an office like that. It just lends the appearance of a conflict of some sort. I don't know what the relationship with this doctor is to the county or the chairman or anybody else. But for one person to just make an arbitrary decision that you're going to bring in a sleep apnea doctor to examine a coroner's office, it seems ridiculous on its face. And there's a perfect to what Kelly said as far as Ms. Majewski having to come before the board to make public comment to ask funds for her department when she had tried to get it to come through committee and the chairman wouldn't bring it after it went through committee already. This is not the way good government operates. Why should an administrative or elected official have to come to public comment to ask funding for the department?
All right, and the next question related to the chairman's office, property taxes obviously are a big deal. What are your thoughts in terms of the future of those in McHenry County and the budget and what that's going to look like with you as chairperson?
I think that the board has done a pretty good job lowering our taxes. They have lowered the taxes considerably. What I would add is even more important is lowering our expenditures and our size of our government. There's a lot of work to be done there, especially with what's going on with COVID. There's going to be massive shortfalls of revenues over the next year or so due to a lowered tax base. And we're going to have to look at and make some hard decisions on where we're going to make some cuts and still maintain the high level of service that people are used to. I think we could use the example of our circuit court clerk's office. Kathy Keefe has done a wonderful job lowering her expenses in her department over the last 10 years. I believe she's down about 21 employees by use of technology and automation to make her department run more efficiently. And we could apply that towards multiple departments within the county in order to achieve some major cost savings. And working with the finance department and the finance committees, I'm sure that we could come up with some solutions, viable solutions, and still, like I said, maintain a high level of service.
All right, now I'm going to go back to Michael Rein, coroner-related question. With COVID-19, what do you believe the coroner's office role should be informing the public on deaths in the county, the reason for deaths in the county, and how do you feel like the office can work to be more transparent with the public on those deaths, number of deaths, things like that?
Okay, I had a hard time hearing you, John, but I think you were talking about COVID and how to work with. I couldn't hear.
How to inform the public on what deaths are related to that, the number of deaths, all that information, classifying deaths within the county and giving that information out to the public. Do you feel like that's an important role in also
Absolutely.
Transparency?
Absolutely. As far, with COVID-19, making sure that we have the right statistics as far as deaths go from COVID-19 is imperative. I know that the coroner's office, they work with the health department to begin with, and that's where the health department is, they work with getting those numbers and things in that nature. But it's also working with the hospitals in having a guideline, because their guidelines, we want to make sure that their guidelines are followed to the T, to make sure that we have accurate counts when we give them. So working with the health department is imperative to make sure that we have the accurate numbers. We don't want separate statistics as far as, cause of death with the coroners. We determine cause of death, and we don't want those causes of death to be different than what the health department has. So we have to coordinate together, make sure that we work together with that, and to make sure that we have an accurate and statistical analysis, so everybody is satisfied that we have the best that we can have. If you don't work together with the health department, you're going to have differences within the coroner's office and the health department. So we really have to make sure that we work together with the hospitals, we work together with the health department and the coroner's office, all in a three-pronged avenue to make sure that we have those accurate numbers.
And related to that, does the coroner's office currently classify deaths and have statistics related to that?
I believe they do, yes, because they should have an accurate count of what the cause of death is. Okay, there's cause and manner of death. If cause or manner of death is COVID-19, they should have those statistics. And as far as I understand, and from what I've read, yes, they do.
Same question for Kelly Liebman.
Well, my answer is going to be just about the same as Mike Rein's. We have to work together with the hospitals and the health department. The health department's the one where you find the statistics. As of today, we had 4,150 confirmed cases of COVID-19, 116 deaths, and 2 probable deaths. And I'm glad that the probable deaths are listed that way. When I was out petitioning right after the governor reopened Illinois, I was petitioning and I was a little surprised. One of the people I collected their signature from had said that they had an issue with the coroner's office labeling their grandmother as a COVID death. And she was really upset about it. And I was actually surprised to get a conversation like that on my first day of petitioning. It was like, oh, wow. And I'm glad to see that 2 probable deaths is listed. I mean, that's a good, clear way. Now, as far as if they've, I don't remember the other questions. I'll just let you ask if you need.
In terms of classifying deaths, and this may be COVID or anything else, do you believe that the coroner's office currently has that information? And if so, why isn't it being made public?
The coroner's office does have that information, but the health department makes it public. Coroner's office reports it to the health department.
Related to COVID, I'm saying other reasons of death. This is
other
completely outside of COVID. Other transparency of the department,
actually,
causes of death.
The county board's website, or the county coroner's website, does have a list of the deaths and suicides, and broken down. However, the last information they have on there is from 2008. So they definitely need to update that. That'd be on the administration or the interim coroner right now, but that information is on there.
From before 2008. That's
18.
Okay.
18 is the last year that is available on the website.
Okay. And what should be done to update that information?
Well, you can't. I mean, put a column in for 2019, and whether you want to create a column for a running total column. The coroner's office seems to be so understaffed. I would hate to put more of a burden on them. I believe in transparency 100%, but to keep a running total of deaths on the website for 2020, I think that would be a burden for the understaffed office already. Okay. One of the glaring things that I noticed from the sheriff's report is that our deputies cannot go to training because there's not enough people, not enough deputies to fill the place if someone goes to training. That's just not right. So
what would you do about that?
What would I do about that? Well, I would see if they've reduced the budget from the general fund from the coroner's office since they started reducing it in 2016. From 2016, the coroner's office budget went from the general fund went from $535,000 to now it is at $476,000. That's another place where the coroner's office is being neglected. They also haven't had a capital outlay in their budget since 2015. How can you plan, again, upgrades and keeping on track and keeping educated? How can you do that if you have no capital outlay? So they've been pinching the coroner's office. I really don't know how we are going to hire a new employee. I know that if I get elected, I will not take the pension. So that will save taxpayers money. I'm hoping that will be a jump start to possibly being able to hire somebody else.
And Michael Rein, follow up on that. In terms of staffing, budget, and the pension, what are your thoughts on that? Will you take the pension, and what are your thoughts on what you would do to change the staffing or the budget for the office?
Yeah, I don't plan on taking the pension as well, and I think that as far as staffing goes, I know that the current acting coroner and one of his deputies were at training for a week because I was with them. So I do know that they are continuing training. I do know that one of the deputies went and finished her ABMDI certification, which is a national certification. So I do think that they are being able to do certifications and things of that nature. I know the coroner has to do, I believe, a yearly certification with the Illinois Coroners Association. That's part of the state mandate. I also think that as far as I know, when Dr. Majewski took over the office, she actually whittled down the budget and kind of got rid of some, over budgeted things. And I know that one of the things that Sheriff Prim had talked about was having a chief deputy coroner, which is kind of a second in command, which they never really had. So I was looking at that position as more of a hybrid position as far as part administrative and part coroner deputy, where they still would go out on calls and things in that nature. That way, if something ever did happen to the coroner, again, where they had to step down, there's somebody already there ready to take over just in case. So, as far as the coroner's office, we really want to look diligently every year at it. Certain things are kind of, you can't control because you don't know how many autopsies you're going to be doing every year. So it's kind of a guess and kind of an estimate of what you need, what you don't need. So, that's basically, you have to look at the trends. You have to look at the trends of suicide, auto accidents, overdoses, homicides, things in that nature. You have to look at every year as they, as those trends go up and down, and they kind of go in an ebb and flow. So looking at that's you really want to make sure that you have enough money, but you don't want to be overshooting, way more than what you need. So, in being on the county board, I've worked with the budget system quite a bit. When I was on the board for 4 years, worked with Dr. Majewski as well. When I was on the county board, I actually, I was part of the human resources at the time, which worked all with union contracts, which I'm very familiar with, both actually on both sides of the aisle, because when I was in construction, I was union. So I know how to deal with the union contract structure and things in that nature to make sure that everything is fair. So, yeah.
Can I ask something?
Yes, Mike Buehler.
I think we also have to look at alternate revenue streams for that department. McHenry County, it's I don't know that anybody even really knows this, but we lost out on grant monies that were provided by the federal government. And why we lost out was because there's no teamwork between some of our departments. The comprehensive opioid COAP program from the Department of Justice, DuPage County received $1.2 million. McHenry County would have qualified for almost $900,000 in funds to help combat the opioid crisis. And those monies were shared between the Sheriff's Department, the Health Department, and the Coroner's Department. And it was a collaborative effort between the three departments to apply for and receive that grant money. I think there's a systemic problem in our county government where the departments don't work as a team many times, and I don't exactly know why that is or where the blame lies for that. But I would ensure that we work in a more collaborative and teamwork kind of a process like they do in other counties around us.
Related to a specific on that, with the health department and the sheriff's department, obviously there were some issues related to information with COVID-19. Where do you think the county chairman falls into that sort of collaboration and something like that?
I think that there would have to be some kind of a compromise reached between the two departments, and sitting down at the table and having an honest, open discussion with the two of them would probably help solve those problems.
Do you think it would have gone to court if you were there?
Oh, I wouldn't want to make a prediction of whether that was the case or not, but I would certainly make an effort to avoid that at all costs. I mean, there's no sense in two county departments going to court fighting each other. There's got to be some common ground that they could reach.
All right, Michael Rein, we will come back and we'll have one final comment from you. I have a follow-up question for Mike Buehler. With a lot of those departments that you're talking about, though those elected positions are Republicans, the sheriff, the state's attorney. How would that work for you working with other Republicans, and how could you maintain independence both with the county board and with those other departments when you're all of the same party?
Well, I may be running on the Republican ticket, but I'm not a politician. This, like I said before, this is the first time I've run for elected office. I'm a businessman. And in my world, we work together to find solutions. Partisan politics after the elections need to be set aside and work together in not a partisan fashion.
All right, now I'm going to go back to the coroner candidates. If you want to respond to any of the previous things we talked about, and then kind of tell us what separates you from your opponent. We'll start with Kelly Liebman.
I'd like to say that when I say I won't take a pension, I mean it. When my opponent was a part-time county board member, he joined the RMRF. And so to say he won't take a pension, I think is a little disingenuous. What stands me apart from my opponent is I'm independent. I have criminal and civil law background or training, and I care about the people. When two of my friends passed away in a motorcycle accident and everybody else was grieving, I got to action and I changed got the county board to change the light at the intersection where they were killed. Since then, there's only been three injuries with crashes at that intersection since 2017 and no deaths. And this is something that the McHenry County Division of Transportation just blew off when I told them about the accident and told them about how many crashes had been at that intersection since it had been redone. The residents need somebody who will speak up for them. They don't need a party member. They need an individual. And that's what I am. Thank you.
All right, Michael Rein.
Yeah, I just wanted a quick comment on what Mr. Buehler had talked about with the comprehensive opioid abuse site-based program competitive grant. That was offered not only last year, but this year. And McHenry County could have received up to $900,000 for that grant in each year. But that was not done. And so there's a lot of, we left a lot of money on the table there to help with opioid abuse. When I decided to run for coroner, I decided to run because I think I can make a difference within the coroner's office and the community. I think that the coroner's office has been it needs to be updated into the 21st century. I know Dr. Majewski was working towards that, but if elected, basically we need to go to a barcode system for everything that comes in for personal belongings and specimens. That way it becomes as much more streamlined and you get to work with the state's attorney's office and local law enforcement much better. That way you don't have to keep scanning and faxing and redoing things with paper. Our county coroner, or the coroner deputies, they need to have iPads to go out onto scenes and to where they go, because having paper, it just takes time. It's much more efficient to have an iPad updated and things of that nature. Again, I have accumulated over 6,000 hours of formal training in the medical industry. I have a doctor's degree. I have a human biology degree. I have two certificates in forensic training. Within the coroner's office, 80% of all the cases are medical related some way or another. And 10% of those end up with autopsies. So I think with my medical background, the understanding of the office, the understanding of how to make key and, decisions on whether we need to do autopsies or not, set me apart from my opponent. I also think that moving forward with the coroner's office, like I said, and upgrading it, I think that's going to be a huge thing for our office. Of course, there's going to be getting obviously some of the old files updated back, updating them and putting them on a hard drive, making sure that we don't have those, excuse me, files laying around. I also think that transparency is also a big thing. We want to make sure that the public and the news media get exactly what they need. However, sometimes working with certain cases, you're not, allowed to give out certain information until the investigation is done. So I think transparency is also a big thing with the coroner's office. So, yes.
All right, and Mike Buehler, final comments. What separates you from your opponent? What are the reasons people should vote for you?
I think it's no secret that our current Democratic chairman's been embroiled in controversy and scandalous allegations and have really become an embarrassment to McHenry County. I want to bring new leadership with a clear vision to restore McHenry County, saying no more to cutthroat politics, support lower taxes and sensible budgeting policies. We need to promote business development, especially after this COVID has affected small businesses so drastically. We need to look forward and come up into the 21st century here. In fact, one of the first initiatives I think I would go approach the board members with would be, there's actually a nonprofit group in McHenry County called the Internet Freedom Cooperative or something along those lines. I've spoken with them quite a few times. What we want to do is bring fiber and internet connectivity to all reaches of the county, provide high-speed fiber and competition, so that we're not only left with two or three carriers in the county. We could have up to 13 different carriers, have high-speed internet, attract business, and give the rural areas the service that they need. The agricultural industry is a business. They need connectivity, and it's abysmal in the rural areas here in the county. So, and that would be not a government operation. That would end up being a privately owned, community-owned infrastructure that would save wouldn't cost the taxpayers anything. It would pay for itself over time. So we'd also need to improve and maintain roads and infrastructure in order to support the traffic that's going through the county and in turn try to attract industry to McHenry County.
All right, that concludes today's interview. I want to thank the candidates for their time and their participation. Good luck on your campaigns. The election's November 3. Early voting begins September 24. That'll include mail-in voting this year. We encourage all voters to research the candidates and issues in all the races and make use of the Daily Herald and dailyherald.com and the Shaw Media Local News Network and their papers, including the Northwest Herald, as part of that research. Ultimately, informed voting is one of the most sacred obligations a citizen has if a democracy is to flourish. Thank you for watching and stay well.